Welcome to Sports Extra, your premium online sports show. I'm your host, Ruimbo Chakureka, and today I'm joined by a guest, Mr. Titch. Now, you may know his voice from radio, but today he's on the visuals, and we've got a lot of exciting stuff to actually talk about today. So let's get straight into the headlines before Mr. Titch comes through. So starting off, we're going to be talking about Zimbabwean sport. Will it ever return? I mean, that's a big question that both Mr. Titch and I have. Will it ever return? Now, we've got Black Rhinos Queens. They're supposed to participate in the COSAFA Women's Champions League, but protocols have not yet given them the go-ahead. We've got the Zimbabwe national cricket team. They've had to push their tour forward, but we're going to be talking a whole lot more about that. Then we're also going to be talking about the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Have they been great? Have they been a damn squid? Have they been something that we were looking forward to? Was the delay of last year actually all worth it with what we have watched, because it's ending this weekend? Then we're going to look at the two biggest transfers that have just happened. Messi leaving Barcelona. Who would have ever dreamt about that? Well, it's happening. And Jack Grealish is signing a big contract with Manchester City. I think Pep Guardiola is going, if I had just waited maybe just a couple of hours, he might have actually gotten Messi for free and not 100 million. But anyway, that's that. And then European League football. It starts this weekend. The French League is the first one to kick off, and it's actually starting today. So we're going to be talking about what are the dynamics that don't give League On the spark that it actually needs. But anyway, let's get straight into it, Mr. Titch. Glad to have you on the show, and you'll be seeing a bucket load of him on the show because he's a man I definitely respect, particularly on his opinion. So let's start off on the local scene.
Yep.
Will Zimbabwean sport ever return? I mean, the first lockdown came, sport was shut down. And then after 18 months, football finally returned. But that was, of course, after some other smaller sports had been granted a little bit of reprieve, and they got around to do their things. Then another wave came and hit, and another lockdown came, and sport was sent back again into the coffin, and only for national team assignments right now, which are currently happening. So, will it ever return?
Will it ever return? I think definitely it will return. I think it's just a question of when it will return, and I think the short answer to that is not anytime soon. I think we've heard from the Sports and Recreation Commission suggesting that, especially for the country's most popular sport, football, it'll have to come back in the bio-bubble concept, something that the PSL, ZIFA, and even the clubs themselves have said they cannot afford financially. The SRC more recently launching awareness campaign for vaccination to try and get the wider community. They've already worked with the clubs to make sure that they're vaccinated with the different national associations. I think we saw Sikanda Raza, Brendan Dawson, Hilton Mudariki, Felicitas Kwangwa, they were all roped in. I think it's a bit too late. Not too late, but I think this should have been the first thing that they did was these sports stars are the influencers. These are the guys that we should have been looking to. And by now, we could potentially be saying, you know what, Zimbabwe is achieving or closer to achieving herd immunity, but we're nowhere near that. And if that's what we have to wait for, then I think we might be waiting maybe the rest of the year. I don't know, but it's not looking good for Zimbabwean sport at the moment.
I mean, you mentioned something very interesting there, particularly some of the influencers coming through and bringing these things to the fore, and it's a little bit late, as you rightly pointed out.
Oh, they're never.
Better late than never. But you kind of feel that also at the same time there is a hesitation, a very high hesitation for sport to return, because initially when cricket came through and they delivered their concept of how they were going to do it, they said, okay, it sounds good, but we're going to discuss it a little bit further. And it seems like there is a tentativeness, particularly from the SRC. We know now, obviously, it has gone a step higher. The Ministry of Health is now involved in the whole process of agreeing. But we're now being left behind, Mr. Titch.
We've never taken sports seriously in this country. I mean, I think I've spoken about it on the radio show as well. I was saying that if you look at it down to the family unit, which is the ultimate grassroots, you know, parents would rather their kids go the academic route. You know, when parents are looking for schools, most of the time they're thinking about what's the school that's going to make sure that my my son or daughter is articulate? What's the school that's going to make sure that they can get the good A's? They want to find out which one's got Cambridge, but nobody's really paying attention to whether they've got sports facilities, whether they've got a wide range of sports. So I think it's very easy for us to go right at the top and blame the SRC, ZIFA, ZRU, Zimbabwe Cricket. But I think we need to look at the way we look at sport holistically in this country. Because we think because we enjoy watching the English Premier League, we enjoy watching England versus India in the tests, that we are a sporting nation. But, actions speak much louder than words. And in our investment, are we investing enough? Even in the non-monetary ways, are we investing enough for our kids to be involved in sport? Because people might talk about, oh yes, we can have high performance centers, we can have all these different things, but do we have the pool to push those people up? So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. In terms of the different concepts that have been proposed, I think cricket has done very well. I think you remember South Africa, they hosted England. That didn't really go well. The bubble burst, for lack of a better term. Australia pulled out at the last minute. We've done 2 good tours with Pakistan coming through, Bangladesh coming through as well. So we've shown that where there's resources, we have the capacity to do that. But for the mainstream sports like your football, which are more widespread, it's difficult to have the bio-bubble concept. But we're going to talk about League One a bit later on, and we're looking at the conditions for fans to return. Not players, fans. It's about either you've been vaccinated, you've got a COVID-19 certificate from within 48 hours, or you've recently been infected, which I don't quite understand, but I guess it's like some kind of a vaccination. So I think that's the approach that we should be taking. I remember Dr. Xtra, who's on the medical committee with the SRC. At one point, they were thinking about bringing back fans, but now it seems like we've taken a few steps back. We're not even bringing back the players, and you have to think, we're going on 2 years now without proper action. What is the long-term damage, even when sport does finally return to Zimbabwe?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that has to be taken into consideration, and would love to hear your thoughts and comments, particularly on this. Will Zimbabwean sport actually ever return? And we've seen a back and forth discussions, SRC, associations, Ministry of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, Ministry of Health saying this and that. So there's so much within the spanner works that has to come right in order for sport to actually return. But let's now zero in. We've looked at the bigger picture, the broad picture. Now let's paint the smaller parts of the
finer
picture.
Details.
The finer details.
Yeah.
Black Rhinos Queens, they're going down, supposed to go down.
Well, ZIFA has paid $10,000 for them to go, so I think they have to go. But as things stand,
hopefully they go. But anyway, they're supposed to go to the COSAFA Women's Champions League, and then we've also got Zimbabwe national cricket team. They're supposed to go to Ireland and Scotland. That tour has been pushed forward. Now the first match is supposed to begin on the 27th of August now. So interesting times. Is this something that maybe the associations themselves, that ZIFA and ZC, can now lean on if they finally get that and help the other associations to say, look guys, we were able to get our permission to do things at home as well as go away, and this is how we did things. And maybe if they were to fine-tune their concepts, maybe there would be an agreement.
Yeah, maybe there could be an agreement, but we've seen it even when we saw Zimbabwe Cricket getting the exemption, ZIFA getting the exemption to go to the COSAFA tour, Zimbabwe Cricket for the recent Bangladesh tour. They talked about teams that were of national interest or were going on national assignments. So I think the SRC has always had that attitude, and especially prior to that, these arrangements had already been made. But I think the challenge now is I don't think there is value from that the stakeholders who are responsible for deciding whether sport will return get from sport. How much money is sport bringing into the GDP of the country? So for them, whether they switch on or switch off the light for sport, it doesn't make a difference to the bottom line. And as much as we might say, yes, we love sport because, it unites people. It's all romantic. It unites people. It brings us together. We haven't seen Dimbare, Zimbabwe cricket, whatever. To them, it's like the bottom line. So, the essential services, the media, we've been allowed to continue because we provide information, which is very key, particularly in this COVID-19 pandemic. But sport, Yes, we've had Castle coming through Delta with their sponsorship, but in terms of what comes back to the government, there's no. I don't
absolutely
know whether it's in terms of tax. I don't think it's negligible. It's not enough for government itself to fill the pinch
And
of
say,
the absence of
"Come
sports.
back."
It's almost like they're indulging the sporting community, like they're doing sport a favor. So I think what needs to happen holistically and maybe looking at the long term is for different stakeholders, whether it's us, the media, the administrators, the players, everyone involved, the parents, for us all to start taking sport seriously. Because how can we expect stakeholders who have no horse in this particular race to want to push things for you? We have to show the value. So it's $1 billion industry. Just when I talk about the Messi story, it's $1 billion industry.
Yeah, big
And
money.
I remember I was looking at the Tokyo Olympics. Japan spent almost 6.5 billion
Just to
on
prepare.
on the facilities, on the stadia and all the different the Olympic Village, the Aquatic Center, the athletics tracks. 6.5 billion in total, because they know it's an investment and it's going to come back. Or you look at the Olympics, 4.2 billion. That's the money that's coming from broadcast rights. But you know what? If we're getting that money for broadcast rights, for all the different revenue streams that can come from sport, it means that would be taxable income for the government. But it's not there. So the government is like, yes, we want to say go Warriors, go.
Yeah.
We want to say, you know, come on Chevrons, let's go. But in terms of making business sense, it's not making sense.
So
So
it's like go Warriors, go in the behind the scenes, you know. What up? Right where you are.
just quickly as well, just as we maybe tail off on this one, you look back at the Chibuku Super Cup.
Yeah.
For example, what motivation will the SRC have to want to bring sport back when ZIFA, through the PSL, they asked for a concession to use the National Sports Stadium. They didn't have the resources to pay for the National Sports Stadium, and the SRC dragged its feet. They're the custodians of the National Sports Stadium at the present, through the Ministry of Sport now. I think there was a transference between the local government. But all those matches, there was no remittance that was paid to the owners of the stadium, and yet we also then cry foul when we say, you know what, there are no bucket seats. The stadium hasn't been approved. It hasn't been homologated. So that then becomes an issue to say, you know what, it's a burden for the
But
stakeholders.
it's an argument. It's an argument and a discussion that I generally have. I mean, should they be owning the stadium at the end of the day? And that's a discussion for another day. Should they be owning the stadium, or should it go into the hands of other custodians? But we would love your interaction as well within the comment section. And as we talk about the Olympics, yes, we didn't forget. We saw one of your comments that came through, Fidelis Magama. Thank you so much. And we're going to be talking about that as we talk about the Olympics right now. So let's go into the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
Which are happening in 2020.
You know, in 2021. But anyway, you know, it happens. But it's come through. There was a delay. There was even discussion as to should we go ahead or not with the spike of the COVID-19 cases. But nonetheless, they went ahead, and it's about to come to an end, particularly over the weekend. All the big races, they've come, they've been run. Has it been worth the while? I mean, when we look back, let's just say to notable Olympics that I can remember very well, I would say from Beijing 2008 is when I really started watching the Olympics very significantly. So 2008, 2012, 2016, and here we are, Tokyo 2020. Has Tokyo 2020 lived up to the billing?
I think if you put it in context, it's a big yes for me, because obviously they were never going to be the same, these games, without the fans, because there's a certain atmosphere, a certain vibe that we get when the fans are there. And I think you could see maybe in the issues, some of the stories that were still in the headlines, Simone Biles with the mental health issues. Now I think the lack of that, you know, the crowd support, or even just having your familiar support there, I think you probably had a factor. But in terms of the performance, whether it was on the track, in the pool, or anywhere else at the Olympics, I think we didn't really have, you know, a Usain Bolt kind of star, a Michael Phelps a kind of star. But you know, I loved what Elaine Thompson-Herah did. coming into this Olympics, she had a bit of injury trouble, so nobody was really focusing on her. A lot of it was on Shelly Ann Fraser-Price at a mom of 34. I know you were focused. Mom of 34. I mean, it's like she had the Serena curse. She gave birth, she came back, and everybody was rooting for her to come back because this was probably her last hurrah. But I think there were some good stories as well. I think the story that I felt like didn't get as much attention, Caleb Dressel, the American swimmer. I think, looking at him, he looks like he could play any sport he wants. He's a pure athletic specimen. 5 gold medals. I think one of them he gave away to one of the guys who swam in the hits for him. But I think he was one of the big stars for me, especially in the swimming competitions. You look at, I was surprised. I don't remember with the other Olympics, but table tennis is surprisingly aggressive.
And they keep on bouncing, when they're getting the tennis ball. So it's interesting. But look, okay, you talk about maybe a big star name to light up the Olympics. I think there were big star names, but they just didn't line up.
For example, so it's underwhelming then. It's underwhelming then.
Look at Naomi Osaka. She was a big star name. In tennis, she had come through with her mental health issues.
No. Do not say mental health issues.
Look.
Respectfully.
No. Let's look at things.
No, can you take that again?
Huh?
With her what?
Mental health issues.
Yes.
Like as if I have to say it lightly. But in any case, I'm saying in terms of the mental health issues, she had hers, of course, leading up.
And that's something that should be taken seriously.
French Open, Wimbledon. Look, I don't deny that these things do exist. I think there's a challenge when people begin to use them in the midst of competitions. Because prior to competition...
Do you think you can pick and choose when you have a mental issue? No. It's just like if somebody pulls their hamstring mid-race. Do you think they want to pull a hamstring mid-race? What's the difference?
Prior to a competition, one will know whether you have the mental capacity to go through a.
So that shows your lack of understanding of what mental health issues are. Because you don't pick and choose when to have a mental health.
No, you don't pick.
Yes, exactly.
You don't pick.
Yes.
You don't pick,
so how can you know pre-competition that you're going to have a mental health issue?
You can help me in this discussion, but nonetheless.
Don't try and come with support. It's okay.
But so let's put things in perspective. Yeah. Okay, so Naomi Osaka had her issues. French Open.
Mental health issues.
Yeah, mental health issues. French Open, she couldn't finish. And then Wimbledon, she decided not to participate. Yep. She decided to come back in the Olympics, and well, that didn't go too great.
Which is going to show you that maybe those mental health issues were real.
Third round, she falls to somebody who she normally would not have fallen to, Marketa Vondrousova.
Which just speaks to the mental health issues.
No, wait. In the Olympics, she didn't have any mental health issues. She said she was fine. All right?
Yes, but those mental health issues affected her preparation in the build-up to the Olympics. Context is key, remember. Context.
Progress to Simone Biles.
Yes.
So Simone Biles also then comes through, and in the middle of a competition, in fact, she has one bad part of the competition. Of the team competition. Yes. She has one bad part. She goes into the changing room, and then she comes out, and initially, actually, quite a number of the international media houses were thinking that it was an ankle injury because she came out flexing her ankle. But she then says after the competition, when the silver medal was won, after one of the subs came on board and saved the day, I would say, so to speak, then she says, okay, fine, I've got a mental health issue and I don't think I can actually carry on. And
did she carry on?
No. Give me some time throughout the Olympics and then we can see. And then the doctors came out and said, no, we're praising her for what she did. And also we're going to give her time. And then we're going to be assessing her competition after competition. At that very point, United States Gymnastics should have replaced her and said, sister, go and deal with your issues.
Can I come in now?
The sub that's there, who came here to do business and get us the
Can I come in now? Can I come in now?
She's one of the reasons
United States is Simone Biles the greatest
medals.
Is Simone Biles not the greatest gymnast of all time? Answer the wait.
Yes, she is.
I feel Simone Biles has earned the privilege
to say what she wants.
She has earned. Not that anybody's supposed to earn the privilege, but here is somebody who has done routines that no one else on earth
Yeah.
has been able to do.
At some
She has,
point,
she-
they
no,
are
wait,
going to be done.
yeah, but nobody at this point, nobody has been able to do that, right? She has done things that we can only dream of. So my thing is, if that person who has reached the pinnacle of sporting excellence tells you, I am not okay. Because you said she came back with ankle injury, but you could tell she was not herself. She was honest enough to identify, you know what, I'm not there. And she gave, and because if she had continued competing, she was going to compromise even further her team's performance.
But she already compromised it.
Compromised
She
it?
already compromised it.
Yes, but it's like, all right, let's go to football.
Were headed
Let's
for
go to football.
gold.
Let's
They
go.
were headed for gold, and they got silver because someone had to be picked up from the bench to say, "Look,
But it's a
Simone
team.
Biles is not feeling fine."
It's just like in football. If Lionel Messi gets injured, can you say that it's his fault?
If he-
'Cause
no, if
mental
he
health
comes
is like an injury. It's like an injury.
Nah.
It is like injury.
Anyway, we will run out of time. But let's try and go ahead. I think the Tokyo Olympics, in terms of being a quality event, I would say particularly on the factor of the number of world records that were broken, season bests, personal bests that were achieved were there. Maybe my only issue with some particular events, particularly the 100 meters for men, it could have been a slow race, maybe because of the kind of weather that these guys are experiencing. It's hot in Tokyo, ridiculously hot and humid at the same time. The winner got 9.80. That was Lamont Jacobs from Italy. But if he was racing in the London 2012 Olympics, he would have been fourth. Alongside Tyson Gay, which was a crazy, a crazy moment in time. So I think at the end of the day, I think the Olympics were pretty good. Quite unfortunate for some that had to pull out, particularly on the Great Britain side. We had Elena Johnson.
Your face is telling me a different story. I don't know.
No, I'm not smiling at all. Look, Johnson Thompson had to pull out because of injury. That was in the.
That was rather, that was unfortunate. And she was looking good too.
Yeah, she was looking really great. And then we then saw Dina Asher-Smith. Unfortunately, then
she was never a contender. It's just because you know why you think Dina Asher-Smith
with this guy.
No, do you know why you think Dina Asher-Smith was a contender? Because he spends too much time on BBC Sports. That's the thing. You need to read outside of British propaganda. You consume too much British propaganda.
At least maybe a bronze medalist. But
who was she gonna beat? Who was she gonna beat? Who was she gonna beat?
No, looking.
Who was she gonna beat?
Sharika Jackson. But in any case,
you see, you found that hilarious. It's fine.
But look, nonetheless, Jamaica continued to just show on the track, particularly in the shorter distances, what they can do. So in terms of the Tokyo Olympics, I think in general we could say they were average.
Yeah, I think maybe like just to buttress your point, the marquee events, the 100 meters, the 200 meters, yeah, it's fun to see a Lamont Jacobs winning. I don't mind who wins, but you always want to see like somebody that pushes the limit, something close to an Olympic record, a world record, and I think that's where we missed that star factor. And I actually think, this might sound wild, might sound crazy. If he had trained for these games, I think Usain Bolt could have won these comfortably. I'm just saying. We will never know though.
We'll just never know. Maybe Usain Bolt might actually have a chuckle whilst watching this one. But anyway, moving from the Tokyo Olympics, at which we've got some big transfers on news, particularly on the international scene.
Some messy transfers.
Well, he had to preempt it, so it's really messy. But so Lionel Messi apparently at the present moment will not be signing with Barcelona.
But apparently he will not.
Joan
Laporta has just come out with a press conference today saying that he's not going to give anyone false hope that Messi. So I'm sorry, you fake Barcelona fans. Messi is not staying, so I don't know whether they're going to PSG. Unlikely that he'll go to Man City, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But we are recruiting at Manchester United. We keep on recruiting. But look, okay, there might be other conspiracy theories which we're going to talk about now. The reason Joan Laporta says they couldn't re-sign him was financial obstacles
No,
and issues.
Not obstacles, the financial fair play rules.
Yeah, and these are the things that he's saying have made it difficult for them to re-sign Lionel Messi. All right, so looking at Lionel Messi, he won't be signing for Barcelona. Very unfortunate circumstances for Barcelona fans, but for us, we are smiling all the way to the bank. But anyway, he says financial obstacles. That's the Barcelona president. And I mean, when I look at it personally, here's my own personal view. Lionel Messi should have actually been let go the first time that he wanted to
Last
go.
August, that's
yeah. First and foremost, Lionel Messi, look, he's 34. He's given absolutely everything to Barcelona. And I don't think...
He earned the privilege.
Yeah, no, he earned the privilege. Not the others he was talking about. But he earned the privilege and the right to be called the GOAT, right? The greatest of all time. I've got questions with that. But anyway, we'll discuss that on another day. So at the end of the day, I mean, Titch, Messi is going. Will Barcelona survive this season? Will they do better, or is it more just about a rebuilding phase that they have to go through now?
I think for Barcelona, this, especially for Joan Laporta, I think this is a perfect scenario because I feel like Barcelona have been playing games. I think when Messi wanted to leave initially last August, the only reason they stopped him is they didn't want the backlash from the fans that they didn't do enough to make him stop. Because how do you come now after saying, oh, we've agreed a 5-year deal, but it's a 2-year deal and then we'll pay him for 5 years, always trying to work around the financial fair play rules. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, because of these rules, the financial obstacles that you've known about all the time, now we can't do it. It feels like they were just trying to buy time, try to set the tone for them to have a situation where they can say, we did what we could to keep Messi. But I think Joan Laporta, as he looks ahead to the future, I think they've got Memphis Depay. I'm not sure what he's going to do at Barcelona, but they've made a few signings. Kun Agüero has come through as well. Because if they were genuine about trying to hold on to Messi, one, they should not have let his contract expire in the first place. Because if they had avoided that, then they wouldn't have had to come across this hurdle where they have to register him as a new player. It would have just been a renewal and then he just continues. So that's number one.
But there was always the problem of the debt that they incurred, signing all these other
then why were they like so they're saying they're willing to push out a Lionel Messi, keep an underperforming Antoine Griezmann. I mean, of course, it's not as easy to push people out, but I'm saying
an injured Ousmane Dembele.
Yeah. So the point that I'm trying to make, I think, when the emotions settle down and all this, I don't know, this revolving chairs, this game of musical chairs ends, you realize that this is a win-win for Joan Laporta because he's clearing off his wage bill. He's got some stars who can make Barcelona competitive. They're not going to be a Messi type of team, and in their long-term health, I think this will be good for them. For Messi, I'm sure he won't be short of suitors, but the question is how many can afford him? And I think Paris Saint-Germain are probably the only team that will probably be licking their lips and thinking that they can take Messi. But I think Messi is probably shocked because I think when he was all this time he thought he was in control. Now he's like, oh,
where do I go now?
I mean, people want him, but if he really wanted to stay at Barcelona, he might regret maybe not renewing at the time that he had the option to renew without all those obstacles.
Look, I think it's good riddance to the guy. He was a problem.
No, he earned the privilege.
You don't earn the privilege of holding a team, an entire team.
How much of Barcelona's revenue comes from the sale, the image rights from Lionel Messi?
And Lionel Messi, all of those image rights, they all go into his wage bill, and they aren't even enough to cover his wage bill. So at the end of the day, that is a challenge. Anyway, guys, this is all the time that we had for today on this episode. Mr. Titch, a great big thank you.
By the way, before I go,
yeah.
Extra, what's the extra for?
The extra is for the extra without an E. That's exactly what it's there for.
And he's just being extra.
Well, great big thank you so much. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, share this content as well. You can go to @SportsXtraZim. Remember the extra without an E, @SportsXtraZim on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can like, you can follow, you can comment. Fidelis Magama, we did mention that he did put in a comment. He did say that we need to look at the Olympics on a holistic level.
Yeah.
Because the challenge that we have is that most of the Zimbabwean records that we have on track were being broken by decathlon athletes.
I mean, we've just spoken about the state of sport in this country, so I don't think we can expect. I think the only decent record that we have is the 9.89, the national record that was set by Ngoni Makusha 2011-2012. The rest of the other ones, I think, with the 400 meter, the hurdlers could probably challenge that one. But yeah, I think as a country, like, it's frustrating, and that's why maybe we invest so much in following the Manchester Uniteds, the Chelseas, because closer to home we don't really have much. Like, I'm probably going to go back and watch the England India test because it's less stressful than watching you know who.
Putting things into perspective. So until next time, make sure you stay logged on, like, share the Facebook page, and continue to follow us right here on Sports Extra.